My father was a butcher. My mother drove our school bus. We used to share bath water. We didn't bathe at the same time, me and my sister there, but embarrassing the devil out of her every time I say this, right? But we bathed based on seniority. So my mother would make the bath, and my older sister got to bathe first. So she had a really hot bath. I would go second, so, a little less hot. Poor Jennifer would go third, but the real person that suffered was my younger brother, because he went last. I'm proud to say that my parents now have a shower. Everything I do in my life, I can never forget that. I can never forget that. And so that's why this whole Prop B thing, to me, is something that we should all care about. I'm sure there's strong opinions about it on all kinds of, because there's more than just two sides to this issue. But I'm going to try to give you a little history. Mayor Turner worked very hard as a candidate. This is a guy that's been wanting to be mayor since 1991. Don't forget that. He wanted to be mayor, and guess where I was? I was in the Persian Gulf. Okay, that's how long ago this was. And so when he came in, when he was running, first the Black Firefighters Union came out early and endorsed him. And then he worked very hard to get the endorsement of 341, the rest of the Firefighters Union. Okay? And he got that endorsement. And those men and women and their families and supporters worked very, very hard for Mayor Turner to get him elected. They worked very hard. And recall that he won by 4,000 votes or thereabouts. The firefighters would say to you, if you asked them, I think most of them would say, I busted my hump for him. I worked very hard for him. And we believe the firefighters are primarily responsible for the reason that he won. Okay? And recall that Mayor Turner ran on the ideas that we do not have a sustainable budget in the city of Houston, and we still don't. But the primary problem then was pension reform. One of the things he ran on, and he promised the union, was, look, we're not going to interfere with your pensions. Okay? But the first thing that he did, and this, I'm not making a value judgment, and we're going to have to make some tough decisions in the city. Everything's going to be on the table if we're going to survive. The city of Houston goes bankrupt, the county will go bankrupt, we all will lose. Okay, so just like the Houston Independent School District. If we don't get that together, that impacts. I mean, we're all in this together. You've got to keep that in mind. So sometimes it's better not to criticize, it's to offer solutions. Okay? It's easy to find what's wrong. We need to be focused with our best and brightest people. Put your energy into finding a solution of what's right. You need to understand, I believe we all need to understand why people feel, why the firefighters feel so strongly about this issue and feel this sense of betrayal. So the firefighters feel like that their pension was almost fully funded, that the city had not made its required contributions, and that the mayor sacrificed their pension in favor of the municipal workers and in favor of the police officers union. That's their position. I can make a pretty good case that they're probably right. So when it came time to negotiate a contract and pay, there wasn't a lot of love in the room. There wasn't a lot of good feeling. There wasn't a lot of cooperativeness. In fact, this mayor didn't even bother to go sit down with the union. So they didn't reach a deal. All right? So the firefighters felt like that they had been poked in the eye by the city, and then poked in the eye again because the city wouldn't even negotiate. So the firefighters were put in this position that we never want to put any of our employees in, which is setting their own salary. But you don't want to put them in a position where they're going out to go override you and grab signatures. That's where we put them. And you know what? Firefighters are good at that. They're good. I mean, they're good. This should have been nipped in the bud at the beginning. We're just sitting down and saying, Marty, this is how it's going to have to be, man. Let me explain to you why it's got to be this way. Let me show you. I'm lifted up my entire skirt. I'm showing you everything from where I'm coming from right now. And this is why I can't give you that raise you want, but I can give you this, and the way it's supposed to be done. Not where you just don't do anything and now all of a sudden the firefighters say, okay, you want to test me? Watch what happens. They had to sue the city to get the city to certify them. Okay? Think about that. And then they went out and busted their humps. And you saw the firefighters at every single polling location. He started a PAC with his ex-law firm. And then he takes his own campaign monies and gives it to the PAC. And the whole purpose of the PAC was to defeat Prop B. And you remember, you probably saw the mayor on TV, yes to A, no to B. Remember all that?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, he lost. Okay. And didn't just lose. It was almost 60-40. And you know how hard that is in an election, in any kind of election, to get that kind of victory. Especially that kind of money was spent on the effort. So 298,000 voters, think about it for a minute, 298,000 voters voted in favor of Prop B. That is almost 3 times who voted in favor of the mayor. Okay. True statement. The mayor got 108,000 votes. Prop B got 298,000. It's not exactly 3-1, but it's pretty darn close. Let's work it out, because this is the kind of thing that should be solved in a boardroom, not a courtroom. Right? That's not what happened. The mayor used the same law firm that had set the PAC up to orchestrate a lawsuit such that now you have the fire department, the police officers union, suing the fire union. And then the city joins the lawsuit. Now think about people from outside the city. Lay aside the everyday citizens, but the people outside the city, they see, think about what their perception is. Man, their house is completely out of order. Completely out of order. They can't even, lay aside, you can't pick the trash up on time.
Yeah.
You got your firefighters fighting your police officers fighting the city. And you know who's coming next? The municipal workers.
What is your opinion about why the mayor chose to fight the battle the way he did?
I don't know, it's almost like he has a political death wish. And it really is. And the only thing, that's really what it is. Did I say something wrong? I do have another thought on that. I think there's a real personality issue between the union president and the mayor. There's something. Every time I see those two together, the mayor's just visibly upset. And I think the calmer the union president becomes, the madder the mayor gets. And that's exactly not how you can do business, and that's not how Prop B is ever going to get solved, because we've got to take the emotions out of it and figure out how to fix it. But I think what you're seeing is the mayor is like, well, I clearly have lost the firefighters, and they're certainly going to work against me. There's no doubt they're going to. But I'm going to curry favor with the police officers. Every time you see the police chief, the mayor's standing right beside him, right? And what I think the mistake, the judgment mistake he's making is that police officers typically don't block walk. And they typically don't, they'll give you money from their union, but they typically don't do the things that firefighters do. So I think it's a calculated mistake on his part, politically. I think there's always room for savings, always. I look at, on the Board of Regents of Texas A&M, which I've done for the last 6 years, our budget's almost $5 billion. I've had a provost stand in front of me and say, when I say, wait a minute, why are we amending the capital plan? Once again, it's supposed to be a 5-year capital plan. Why do we amend it every quarter? That doesn't sound like a 5-year capital plan, does it? No. But, and the provost says, well, we just found $17 million. And I'm like, well, how do you, well, I need to be looking where you're searching. I'm going to be looking for savings. Because as the mayor, I'm not carrying water for, with all due respect to the union. I'm obviously a big supporter of public safety professionals, but at the end of the day, my job is not to carry water for any group except the citizens. What you can see is if you just look at the raises that have been given and the frequency of the raises, in other words, the step up in pay, the firefighters certainly have fallen behind. We're never going to work anything out if we don't talk. That's the problem with the country today. We've become so divisive that just because you said that, I'm not going to listen to it. Just because it's you that said it. Government itself is failing. Lay aside the fact the family's failing, school's failing, and all the other things we can talk about. We're going to have to be able to speak to each other no matter how different our opinions are.